Hello, I'm Adam Wesker. This is my partner, Colton Valentine, and we're here on behalf of the Umbrella Corporation to bring you a review of Resident Evil, or Biohazard if you're from Japan. But in 7 minutes, you will have complete global saturation. Alright, I'm not gonna do that voice the whole fucking
Call an
video.
ambulance, but not for me.
Oh shit!
Pulls out the samurai edge.
Oh, are you gonna do fucking punch a boulder at me?
I'm like Chris.
Shit, yeah, that's right. Anyway,
I'm Average Joe Squad.
I'm Getsu 134. So yeah, more Halloween videos. Probably not very many more, because, given how fucking long the X-Men months were, this in November is kind of going to be just, we're going to put some reviews out, because we also have a big epic month coming up. So, but, you know, for Halloween, it's not really like we're doing like a big theme. We're just doing Halloween-y-esque stuff. And what better way to do than with one of the best horror games of all time, Resident Evil.
In the original long box.
That's a good box right there. So
Box is all beat up, but the disc is still fucking great.
yeah, so we're only really going to be talking about the first three, because honestly, if we talked about 4, Colton would probably spend half.
Well, and
of
if
it.
we talk about if we talk about all of them, we're gonna be here for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna get progressively more mad.
Yeah. Which, I mean, to be fair, I don't really mind 4. 5 is hilarious just for fucking Wesker chewing the fucking scenery. 6 is
Terrible.
Michael Bayish as
The logo is a giraffe fucking getting a blowjob.
Yeah. I mean, granted, I would still play it over watching the fucking terrible movies.
I think I'd rather watch the movies than play 6 again. And that fucking says
that's
something.
fair. That's fair. It's just, I fucking hate those movies so much, and I hate the director that much. I think I'd rather
If
play
you like
6.
this review, petition us in the comments to review Dino Crisis.
I'd have to watch.
I'd have to play Dino Crisis.
Yeah, well, I'd have to watch.
I've only played the demo disc.
Yeah, I've never played Dino Crisis.
It's one of those games I can never fucking find.
I mean, granted, that is just.
Maybe when we go up to Erie on Wednesday, I'll have to look. Maybe I can find it.
But getting back to my about the newer. Resident Evil 7 was fucking stupid, because it's just, you're just in like a fucking apartment or house for most of it, being chased by fucking weird, like, hillbilly shit, like it's fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I'm like, where the fuck are the zombies or like the weird mutated creatures? And then it feels like a Resident Evil game for
Breast
like
milk. Mommy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, I mean,
sorry.
For like the first couple hours, it feels like a Resident Evil 1. Then it suddenly just turns into like fucking The Witcher.
I know we're gonna get hate because how can you guys hate Resident Evil 7 and 8? They're the best ones in the series. I'm like,
they're really not.
They're really not. The best one in the series is actually fucking 3.
And to say nothing of the fact that I mean, granted,
3 and 1.
My big love is with 1, but that's mostly because like I love 1 with its fucking. But like my biggest problem with 7 and 8 is there's like none of the cast that you like. Like, none of them are in it. Like, with the exception of Chris. And they fucking did some weird shit to Chris. He looks like the one dude from Law & Order SVU if he did a bunch of weights.
He fucking had leg day.
Yeah, like, you know, like, he looks like that, though, right? He looks like, like, it's fucking weird. And he's all, like, sad and mopey, and I'm like, what the fuck happened to Chris?
One's my favorite. How can you tell? It can't obviously be my Jill Valentine beret that I made.
So yeah, to give a little history before we get into these games, because in my opinion, I like you think the first 3 are like the best.
The first 3 plus Code Veronica.
Plus Code Veronica. Well, you know, I'm not talking about spin-offs, but like if you're to play anything, play the first 3.
Code Veronica is technically a main line. I'm pretty sure it's a main line.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, okay, play that. But like, if you were to sit down and you wanted to play something compact, and you can only play 3.
Yeah, play the trilogy.
Play the trilogy. Especially because the remakes are really, really good.
Oh yeah, the remake of 1 is by far I would actually say is my favorite game. Probably one of my favorite games.
Yeah,
because
well, I say they're really good. 3. We'll get to that when
I
we
still
talk
haven't
about
played the
game.
remake of 2 and 3. I own them. I just haven't played them. Maybe that's what I'll do this vacation. I'll finally sit down and fucking play those.
But you know, like they're just really fun in my like and I know a lot of people say they're not really that scary, which I mean, to be fair, they're supposed to be kind of an action horror oriented thing, and to be fair, there are some really good scares. Like that first zombie in 1 when it turns around,
the dogs through the window. That shit. God, that scared the shit out of me the first time.
That creepy journal entry with Itchy Tasty, where like you watch someone progressively like deteriorate.
And then he comes out of the closet.
Yeah, and then he comes out of the fucking closet.
Just like, what the fuck?
Or like that scene where like you're going through the garden and the fucking birds just fucking come at you. Or when you accidentally flood the entire Laudanum laboratory and there's a fucking shark in the goddamn water. Because because Umbrella can't just not make a zombie plague. They have to fucking infect the sharks and the spiders and the snakes and make them
why
fucking
not? They're
huge.
like Weyland-Yutani.
They fucking are. But yeah, like, you know,
actually, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk about what.
Oh sure.
Are you aware? I can't even talk today for some reason. It's been a long day. You know that Resident Evil is based on a game called Sweet Home, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's actually what I was going to bring up for the history.
Please continue. I didn't know if you were bringing that up or not.
Yeah.
That's important.
Because Resident Evil is technically not the first of its kind.
Clock Tower.
But even before Clock Tower, there was Sweet Home for the Famicom in Japan. Because I don't think it ever got a release in...
No, it never...
Because
it got translated recently, but I think that was a fan brew.
Like, there were a lot of horror titles for, like, the Famicom, but, like, they never came out over here because... well, it was just a different time for when the NES came out, because you know, you had all that shit with the Atari porn games and, like, the weird shit that got put out on Atari because anybody with computer knowledge could make a fucking Atari game back in the day.
Yeah.
So, like, the NES, they really couldn't get away with doing some of the more interesting titles for the NES, which is why we got a lot of weird... Like, if you've ever watched the AVGN, he goes into, like, just all the weird, like shit not a lot of people know about. But, yeah, there was No Way Home, which, you know, it had the, you know, the archetype of, you know, you're wandering around this mansion, you have limited supplies, you can only...
Please tell me you saw that out there.
Yeah, I saw the dude on the bike.
Why is it every time we film here we see some weird shit?
I don't know. Could it be we're filming at a fucking gas station? We're trying to film a roundabout.
It's like a challenge, like film an episode of Remember the Hyphen out, laughing at some of the absurd shit that comes by.
What was some of the weirder shit we've seen?
The truck the one day with the flags.
Oh yeah, the truck with the fucking... For record, we live in Pennsylvania and we see Confederate flags all the goddamn time.
Which I'm like, what the fuck?
I'm like, y'all know we're in a Union state, right?
Yeah.
You guys lost. What you're flying around is called a participation trophy.
Cody dislikes this video immediately.
Well, he's from Florida, you know. He's at the part of the South where it stops being like Stuckies and becomes Piggly Wigglies. He's in the Wang of America, Colton. The Wang of America.
All right, now we just turned this into a
Bugs Bunny in a cartoon. Sod, Florida, off the fucking United States.
Adam, stop. He's dead. He's already dead.
Oh, I haven't even begun to fight.
He's already dead.
He almost became a Cody sandwich.
Oh my god. Anyway, please continue.
But yeah, it had very much the ideas that Resident Evil had. It was a survival horror game. You had limited supplies. I don't know if it had a limited amount of saves like Resident Evil did, but...
It might have. I don't know. Let me look that up.
But basically, it had the formula. Because I want to say it was a Capcom game. And then, of course, you have Clock Tower, which brought it to the 16-bit, which I think only the first Clock Tower ever came over here. And even then, I don't think it was ever for the SNES like it was... I think it was PC only over here.
For some reason, I always get Clock Tower and Alone in the Dark confused. I don't know why.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I think Alone in the Dark came out actually after Resident Evil, I want to say. No, actually, it didn't. It came out for the Jaguar. And the PlayStation came out like a year or two after that. But, to be fair to Alone in the Dark, I like Alone in the Dark, but I think it's actually aged worse than Resident Evil 1. Which says something, because I love Resident Evil 1, but there's some jank to that game.
Capcom does own Sweet Home.
Okay, I was right about it.
Yeah, it was a Capcom game.
But basically, in the 90s, you know, during the PlayStation era, I can't think of the guy who created Biohazard. But basically, they wanted to make something like No Way Home for the PlayStation. And they got together, and they created what, you know, over there is known as Biohazard. But over here became known as Resident Evil because I guess they couldn't get the copyright for Biohazard in the States.
Well, it was that, and just they didn't think it was a good name. Yeah. I'm almost positive.
Which, to be fair, I think Resident Evil is a much better name. I prefer.
Yeah,
Resident
I actually
Evil.
think Resident Evil is a far better name.
Which is why I think it's hilarious that in Japan, even to this day, they still call it Biohazard. That's like how, like, for most of the 80s and 90s in Japan.
Yeah, here it is. When in 1994, marketing executives were setting up to release Biohazard in the U.S., it was pointed out that securing the rights to the name Biohazard would be very difficult as a DOS game had been registered under that name, as well as New York hardcore punk rock band Biohazard.
Which I've never even heard of that band.
No, I really haven't either. So they held a contest among the company personnel to choose the new name, and the one that was picked was Resident Evil.
Yeah, which again, I think that's a great name. And like, you know, and nothing is better than when you hear that announcer go, Resident Evil. You know, it's chef's kiss. But yeah, so they created Resident Evil, and to be fair, if I remember, like, one of the things they were really inspired, like, when they based on was the works of George Romero. You know, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead.
Zombie, the movie Zombie.
Yeah, the movie Zombie, which was in itself just an Italian knockoff of Resident Evil, which I...
Oh, that man.
You know. Or yeah, not Resident Evil. But, which... Those zombie movies are fucking hilarious. Especially when you get past...
We need to review those sometime.
Well, especially when you get past, like, Zombie 3, because they're just Italian knockoffs of other things. Some of them don't even have fucking zombies in them. They're like Zombie 5, which is just a remake of The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe.
Just like, the fuck?
Yeah. There's no zombies in that movie. Like, there's not even, like... Or Zombie 6 Killing Birds, which is not about, like, birds or like... it's...
And they're like, we know you fuckers are gonna buy it.
Hey, do you guys like the part where Adam and Colton talked about obscure fucking Italian movies in this Resident Evil retrospective?
Well, you guys quit talking about Italian movies and fucking do the game?
So anyway, getting back into my love of spaghetti westerns. But anyway, in fact, I want to say Romero did a script for one of the Resident Evil games.
He did. He was, not only that, he wrote the script, which is available online. One of these days, we're going to do it for Remember the Script.
Yeah.
He actually had an intern play the game in front of him.
Yeah.
So he was taking notes.
Yeah. And he's actually a big fan of these games. Like he was. So, yeah.
Yeah, because he's passed.
But
his script was actually really good. I mean, I think the only thing he really added to it that wasn't in the first game was that Jill and Chris are in a relationship, which we all theorized that from the beginning. Anyway, I was about to say,
I mean, like, you watch the end of that fucking game where like she puts her head on his fucking shoulder during the helicopter ride. I was like, everybody,
anybody else shipping this?
Anybody? Do you think they fucking? Yeah, they fucking.
Well, and the Resident Evil novels, because there's novelizations of these games as well, kind of add into that. But
yeah. Well, then, like, it's probably the only relationship in the Resident Evil games that's any, like, sort of healthy. It's certainly better than Leon and his fucking need to bang Ada. Like, I know we make, like, there's a lot of jokes around Leon and Ada, but, like, my God.
We need you to continue the Redfield lineage.
Well, no, my God, like, I'm like, Leon, why do you fucking keep going back to that woman? Every single time she fucking backstabs you because she's still working for the fucking corporation. Despite the fact that they have created several global zombie pandemics.
Is Leon actually the world's first simp?
Probably. He might be. And granted, I appreciate Leon existing because he's
Leon Kennedy once again simming for Ada, more at 11.
I mean, I give Leon credit because, you know, because of his existence, I got Dante from Devil May Cry, which I know you don't like Devil May Cry. That's why I was just gonna bring it up. Move on. Which also I want to say that's actually where Ladies based on Ada, which is really fucking surreal. But anyway, so yeah, and you know, like, you know, they made Resident Evil. It was a smash hit. It was like, I don't know if it's as popular in the Japan as it is the States. I want to say it's actually
enough to warrant a PlayStation Greatest Hits release.
And
with the ugly ass green on the side.
And a fucking director's cut. But as much as I think the director's cut's really good and the DualShock version is also really good, sadly they had to change the music because I want to say
I actually like the music in the director's cut more. Actually, I know that's an uncommon.
I'd like it if it didn't just sound so like, kind of like
generic.
Not generic. It sounds like someone's just like a cat walking across a Casio keyboard.
See, that's why I like it. It sounds like a cheap ass horror movie soundtrack.
Which, I mean,
that's what that game's supposed to be.
I mean, fair, but like I like the first one because it's a bit more atmospheric.
Yeah, I mean, I like both, but
well, yeah, I mean, both definitely have their bangers, but like, yeah. there's a lot of parts where it just. It might just be because I'm a music guy. So, well, yeah. I shouldn't say music guy. You're more the music guy than us. But I mean, this game was old enough that when this shit dropped, it was in the big box. Yeah, this is back when them in a Sega Saturn were like.
I don't know if you can really see that art that well.
Because like they wanted to be like PC gaming because like PC had like boxes like that.
Yeah, which I had bought this because the long box is kind of rare anymore. It's more common to find it in the jewel case. I'd actually bought this off Amazon. Well, I'd actually asked my mother at that point because I didn't have a job. So I asked my mom, like, can you buy this game for me off Amazon? Because I wanted it. You know, because at that point I had Director's Cut, I had 2, I had 3. I wanted the OG one. Well, because I was also trying to get the Director's Cut that had the demo disc for 2.
Yeah. And
what ended up happening was, came in the mail and it was this fucking long box version. I think my mom only paid like $10. So I was like, somebody selling this on Amazon did not know what they had. I mean, it's beat up. I mean, it's very, very beat up. But I mean, I opened up the package and I was like, they sent me a fucking long box?
Well, yeah. But like, I mean, to be fair, even though it is beat up, I would love to have some long boxes from that period because, like,
yeah,
you know, it's one of those things where it's really like a time capsule of that time period. You know, back when like PlayStation and Sega were like, how are we gonna market these?
Well, like CDs had this kind of casing. You could get cassettes in this type of a box.
But
yeah, like I want to read the back of this to you. Just. You're dead scared. Face your fear. A series of gory attacks in the area surrounding a remote biotech lab brings in STARS, Special Tactics and Rescue Squad, to investigate. On arrival, Bravo Team communications are abruptly cut off. Now it's up to your team. You arrive at the isolated mansion underpowered and on the run. Arm yourself with anything you can find. Knives, pistols, shotguns, flamethrowers. Search for hidden rounds to stay alive. There are puzzles to solve, traps to disarm, and mysteries to uncover while trying to avoid a bloodbath with the freaks of nature that populate the mansion. Each lurking horror you survive will bring you closer to the source of the Resident Evil.
Resident Evil.
And then it's got bullet points in there. Unprecedented detail, intense texture maps, shadows and lighting effects. Unique camera angles, action perspective, and realistic polygon character graphics. Face unstoppable zombies, monstrous spiders, mutated snakes, and utter unknown horrors. Explore hundreds of rooms in a gigantic mansion, secret underground layers, the garden, graveyard, and guest houses to solve mind-bending mysteries and discover fascinating secrets. Omnius... Yeah. I can never pronounce that word. The music. I'm mind farting on how to fucking read that word.
Ominous digital surround soundtrack.
Yeah, ominous. Digital surround soundtrack adds to the rich and evil 3D environment. Choose which soldier to play as. Each creates their own graphic storyline.
Yeah.
Rated M for mature, animated blood and gore, and animated violence.
This is one of those early games where like picking the character actually gave you a radically different story.
Yeah, because you play as Jill and the game's infinitely fucking easier.
Well, not only that, like you run into different characters as Chris or Jill. Because the game actually, well, we'll talk more about the story, but because the game opens, you know, and it, of course opens with that famous FMV cutscene.
I love that FMV so much. With the live action, it's a live action cutscene. I wish we did that more. Bring back the live action cutscenes, damn it. I love those.
Which,
yes, they're cheesy as fuck, but some of them are cool.
Well, and to be fair, a lot of the reasons they were so cheesy is because they couldn't afford actual actors. They just...
I mean, because, like, when they were done well, I mean, you had instances like the Star Wars ones that did it, like Rebel Assault and Dark Forces 2. Like, where they were using real props from the movies. They just went out to Skywalker Ranch and shot this shit on a green screen. It looks good. I mean, it looks a little hokey now because of CG. It doesn't hold up, but...
Well, yeah, I mean...
It looks fine.
I mean, this here, at least, like, there's no weird CG. Like, it's all done practically. A lot of the problems with it is, though, in order to get... Well, the acting and the fact that it's very heavily censored. You know, like that scene where, like, who is it that falls and picks up the decapitated hand?
Joseph.
Yeah, Joseph, when he finds the hand clutching to the gun, and then he almost gets murdered by the dog. You're actually supposed to see the hand, but due to, I want to say Japanese law, because originally, because I want to say the Japanese version, they did have a colorized version that actually showed the full thing.
Because in Japan it was uncut.
Yeah, in Japan it was uncut, but I remember, I think they got a really high, they almost got an AO rate, or the Z or adult rating that they have over there, and worried that, like, they would get, like, the AO rating over here, which, I mean, even
like
today,
a death sentence for a game.
Well, especially because this is just after Mortal Kombat, like, that would have more or less killed this game. So, not only, that's why they made it black and white, so they could hide a lot of the potentially risky moments in that cutscene. Like, especially the shot of the dog when it's all, like, zombied and, like, even though, like, when you watch that cutscene,
it's hokey.
It's hokey, and you can tell it's really fake. But basically, you know, like that opening cutscene is fucking fantastic. It really is.
The part where they're looking at the helicopter, right? We're getting this pan of everybody, and then there's Chris in the end, and he's like,
"Stop! Don't go!"
But like that part where just Chris is like looking fucking pissed. I'm like, what are you looking pissed for?
Or my favorite part, the scene where it shows all the characters that's in it, and it like they're all clearly like standing in front of a screen. Yeah. Or like,
which I think there's a guy on YouTube. He's actually been tracking down the people that are in that. I think he found Jill and Rebecca's actresses, and I think he might have found Barry's.
I love Barry because he's just loading the chambers of his revolver. God damn. Which that revolver is one of my favorite fucking things in that game.
Fucking Rebecca's just being cute with the headband.
Oh yeah, because she also love that they all have tactical vests, and they're all different fucking colors, despite the fact that a SWAT team's tactic colors is usually like,
well, this is
black
Special Tactics and Rescue Squad.
Well, yeah,
this isn't SWAT.
Well, I know, but like if we were to say what stars would be closest to, they'd be SWAT. But like, I love that they all have different fucking colored tactical vests. Is the thing. Like,
the best one though is Wesker.
Oh yeah, where he slicks the hair back.
I'm like, what the fuck?
Well, because they had to show he was evil, Colton. So the best thing they could do is be like, slick that bleached hair back, motherfucker. Which, I'm sorry, like, it's so fucking obvious Wesker's the bad guy in it. Because, like, fucking look at him. He looks like a jackass. He had the fucking... He looked like fucking Spike from Buffy.
Don't open that door.
Oh my god, the voice acting is so... But I mean, to be fair, that's the charm of the first Resi game.
It's just the fucking shitty voice acting.
That's the reason why I love Barry. Whoa there, Jill. If I weren't there any quicker, you'd have been a Jill sandwich, which they fucking took out of the remake. And I'm like, I know that because, like, it sounds silly.
I want to say there's a trophy, though.
Yeah, there was a trophy.
I think there's a trophy in the remake.
But, like,
the new one.
Just because you put the trophy in, like, you know, like...
And it's become such a fabled thing in the lore. Like, there's a shirt, one of these days, I'm going to just fucking buy it, where it's got Jill in, like, front of a Subway.
Yeah.
With a big-ass fucking sandwich. It just says Jill Sandwiches. So I'm like...
Well, and to be fair, like if you could have made that line actually not sound like a cheesy thing. You could have just had Barry been like, "You're lucky I got there in time, Jill. If I hadn't gotten here sooner, you might have become a Jill sandwich." Yeah, you don't need to make it seem like he's being all, like, lighthearted and jovial about the fucking thing. Although my favorite Barry line is, my favorite Barry line is, "You go investigate over there, Jill. I'm going to investigate this. Sure hope this isn't Chris's blood." Yeah. No, I
want that shirt.
I've seen the pictures I've seen the Jill sandwich pictures. But yeah,
well,
like,
did you know? I'm pretty sure this. Hold on, I gotta know if that's real just before I even show it to you, because otherwise you're gonna be mad.
But so yeah, like the basic premise of the game.
There's just so much. Like,
I know there's so many Jill sandwiches.
Here's the best one. The actual actress for Jill in the remake did a video recently where like she was cosplaying as Jill.
Yeah, I can believe that. Anyway, so and you know, please correct me because I know you've read the novels, because I know the novels kind of give more backstory. And we're not talking about Resident Evil 0 right now, all right? Because that game has a lot of contradictions to the first Resi game. To say nothing of the fact that Rebecca went through like all this ordeal with like zombies and shit. And so like she should know all this shit. And of course it doesn't have the best Resident Evil character.
Fucking Barry back.
Oh, okay. I appreciate the Jill sandwich pictures.
We're gonna keep going.
Yeah. All right. So, and we're not going to talk, like I said, we're not going to talk about Resident Evil 0, even though I want to talk about the best Resi character with Philly.
Before we get there, this is real. This was a real shirt you could get in Resident Evil 0, the remake,
oh,
like
really?
when they remastered it.
Yeah.
Like, y'all really made it just as a Jill sandwich shirt?
Well, yeah, because they knew how mad people were when they remade the first one and that line was cut out. But anyway, so the story opens. Which team is this?
Bravo team.
Yeah, Bravo team.
Alpha team is Jill and Chris's team.
But basically, Stars had sent a team in to investigate this mansion that was owned by the corporation in Raccoon City known as Umbrella, a pharmaceutical company.
Well, it was actually to investigate the woods around because there was there was weird. They thought it was a serial killer.
Yeah, because like some serial killer had been mutilating bodies.
Can't really blame him for jumping to serial killer.
I mean, I would have probably assumed it was some sort of fucking like rabid animal or something like that, because I want to say they found like the bodies all like eaten and torn and like, so I would assume an animal. But basically, Stars had sent a team in previously, and they never reported back. You know, they gave them like so much time, and then they went black. The team, a team consisting of Barry Burton,
Jill Valentine,
Albert Wesker, Chris Redfield,
Brad, Joseph,
aka the two that get fucking murdered.
Well, no, Brad doesn't get murdered in this game. He gets murdered in 3.
Yeah.
Brad is a little pussy and fucking leaves.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Brad and Joseph are fucking expendable. No one gives a shit.
Red shirts.
Yeah. And Rebecca, whose last name I don't remember. Rebecca Chambers, are sent in to investigate.
Rebecca's Bravo team.
Yeah. As they land, because they were helicoptered in. My fucking God, Colton.
Oh no, keep going. Keep going.
As they're
me.
Oh God. All right. As they're airdropped in, they are soon attacked by strange dogs that cause them to separate, which leads to Chris being thrown into one of the underground labs of this mansion. Crap, I can't think of what the name of the mansion is. The mansion has a name.
Oh, it is Barker.
Barker Mansion.
Pretty sure it's Barker Mansion.
And Wesker, Barry, and Jill managed to make it inside the mansion through the front door. Unfortunately, they can't go back outside because if they do, the zombie dog.
Yeah, if you actually do, the dog. If you can actually click on it, it'll kick you right back. It's like nope.
Yeah.
Spencer Mansion. It's Spencer Mansion.
Yeah, that's right. I thought it was. Yeah. Yeah. So this mansion.
I thought. I think Barker was the guy that made the mansion. Yeah. I think is what it was.
This mansion actually has a store in there where you can buy like sex toys.
Jesus Christ.
I thought that was a good joke. And so. That's more or less the basic premise because both stories are again slightly different. You go through the same mansion.
The general gist of the story is You get in the mansion and you quickly find out something's up.
Yeah.
You know, there's zombies. You investigate a little more and you find that the Umbrella Corporation is basically creating this thing called the T-virus, which causes people to turn into zombies. And while they were working on it here, there was an outbreak.
Yeah. Although, I don't think they were trying to make zombies. I want to say they were just trying to make bioweapons.
Yeah, they were trying to make bioweapons, but it turned them into zombies.
Yeah.
They were trying to make tyrants, is what they were trying to do.
But they were still like, well, you know, we got some shit. Like, you know, as you go in, you'll find, like, diaries and data entries that kind of show, like, that Umbrella were, you know, using test subjects, but eventually they ran out of test subjects and started experimenting on the scientists working there. And, of course, you later find out that one of those scientists was Albert fucking Wesker, who, you know, who was sent with the team because...
You're evil, Wesker? Newsflash, asshole, I've been evil the whole time.
Yeah, he looks like fucking Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You didn't figure that one the fuck out?
I wasn't even on at that point when this came out.
I mean, I know, but you gotta admit, there's some
there's some similarities there.
Yeah.
I'll give you that, but he wasn't even a character at that point.
But yeah, and like I said, the stories progress slightly differently because Chris has to escape from the underground labs and eventually make his way into the mansion. Whereas Jill starts off in the mansion and explores it before she, like, eventually goes outside. And, yeah, like I said, more or less the stories play out the same, like you said. It's just certain characters are not in the other story.
Yeah, like Rebecca's not in Jill's story.
And Barry's not in Chris's for the most part. I think he does meet up with Barry at a couple of points, but I don't think it's, like, very...
I think they changed it in the remake.
Well, they probably did change it.
It's not in the original like that.
Well, I'm just talking about the original. I'm for the sake of just kind of making this a little simple. But yeah, and also there's also a big difference in the fact that Chris is actually like the hard mode of that game.
Yeah, because if you're playing as Chris, you have to find these keys to unlock doors. If you're playing as Jill, she just has a lockpick.
Yeah, Barry
can just kick everything.
Barry gives her a lockpick because she's the master of unlocking. Which I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? What are you trying to say, Barry? No, really, Barry, what are you trying to fucking say? Because I don't know what that fucking line's supposed to mean. I figure this would be more useful for you, the master of unlocking. I have most of Barry's lines memorized because they are the funniest fucking shit. My favorite being when he talks about how he's okay in the mansion because he's got a fucking Magnum. He's got a fucking dirty Harry pistol.
Yeah,
I've got this.
Yeah, so like, just to share my personal experiences with this. The first time I ever played a Resident Evil game was Director's Cut. I bought this at a Goodwill for like $1 because I was trying to get into like older games at that point, and I found this, and I was like, oh hey, like PS1 game, you know. And I had heard Resident Evil, obviously. I'd heard of the movies and like I'd heard of the games, but I'd never played any of them.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this will be kind of fun. Started playing it, and I had no idea what the fuck to do.
Yeah,
I think I got killed almost immediately,
yeah.
And I got pissed and turned it off. Plus, I didn't have a PS1 memory card at that point, so I couldn't have saved it regardless.
Yeah.
But then eventually I came back to it because I was like, you know, like I feel like I could actually probably beat this game if I just sat down and tried.
Yeah.
And I just got hooked, like, by playing this. Like, it was probably one of the most fun games I ever had. Like, the mansion was just so atmospheric, basically.
Yeah.
You know, and like I was like playing it in my room. You know, I had the lights out. I had like a lamp in the corner that was on. You know, I was playing with PS1 with a boomerang controller with no analog sticks.
I mean, to be fair, the first game unless you're playing the analog version,
I did. The analog sticks suck.
Yeah, especially because like with the tank controls of that game, you're better off just using a D-pad anyways.
Yeah, for all three, I only use D-pads.
Yeah. Because the tank controls in that game make the analog sticks really...
The only one I argue that's okay, that starts being okay with the analog sticks is Code Veronica. And that's because it was designed for that.
Well, that like at that point in time, like if you were programming for PlayStation or PS2, you needed to be able to use the analog sticks.
Yeah, and this is actually, and again, this is the second version of Director's Cut. The first one was actually a double disc.
Yeah.
And had a different cover. I mean, it was just this picture of Chris on the front.
Now, what was why was it 2 discs for that version?
Demo of Resident Evil 2.
Ah.
Resident Evil 2 was gonna come out at that point, and they decided to scrap it and restart.
That happens a lot with Resident Evil.
Yeah, they decided to scrap it. Well, this is where this explains why I was trying to get the 2-disc one for this. Mm. Some of the ones that went out were demos of the original build.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's actually really cool.
I mean, most of the ones you'll encounter are just the normal one for Resident Evil 2, but like some of them are original build.
Oh, that's actually cool.
So I was trying to get that version, and I've never ran across it. No. I mean, even like when we go up to the exchange, we'll have to take a look. Maybe they have it, but I've never even seen a version. I've never seen that version anywhere in person.
Well,
like
probably
this is always the one I run across.
Yeah,
is this one?
To be honest, I when you said it was 2 discs, I was like, oh sweet, does it come with a soundtrack CD?
No, it doesn't.
Sometimes they did that back in the day.
My copy of Silent Hill 3 has the soundtrack.
Yeah. I was just about to say,
yeah. So
monsters.
But like I said, I went back and played this and loved it, and like I actually got the books at that point.
Yeah.
And the book for 1 is actually is just straight up. It's like a guide almost.
Yeah.
Like just reading it, like
that's one of my favorite. I have a Legend of Zelda Choose Your Own Adventure book from when I was a kid, and it straight up is just telling you how to play that game, and you pick your own adventure shit. I'm like,
yeah. But so, like I said, I basically got really, really into it. You know, like I actually, at that point, they were like, you know, like, hey, you know, you can, they were remix this game, and at that point, they were only on the GameCube. That was the only fucking way to get them when I was getting into it.
Yeah.
And so I actually had to, there's that same dude on that fucking bike again.
And he's just riding around. I don't know what the fuck he's doing.
I don't know. Anyway, but anyway, I actually, when I was getting into it, my mother was down in Virginia with a relative. She actually bought me a GameCube down there for like $20.
Oh wow!
But it didn't have any of the cords. It didn't have the power adapter, any of that shit. So or it had memory cards. So what I ended up doing was at that point I was playing GameCube games on the Wii. You know, because you can play them on the Wii, and so I actually went to GameStop that day, and this was when they were getting rid of all their GameCube shit. You know, they were liquidating all of them. I picked up 0 and Resident Evil 1 remakes. I think I paid like $20 total, and I think I got like a memory card for like $5.
Back in the day, that was how you go into GameSpot and
maybe they'd have what you were looking for.
But like you'd still find some fucking deals back in those days.
Yeah, but so I started playing that one, and like, because at that point I had beaten Resident Evil 1, and the first thing that hit me about that remake was I was like, they changed the fucking map.
Yeah, they changed a lot.
I had to like relearn that whole fucking building, and then like, you know, there's some stuff that they straight up changed. Like the first zombie, you can't fucking kill him at all. You're supposed to go back and have Barry kill him. But so after that, I remember for my birthday, I was like, hey, told my mom, like, I want Resident Evil 2. So she bought it off Amazon. I not only asked for it with the PS1 version, I got the N64 port too.
Oh yeah, I forgot that had an N64 port.
With both discs on one cartridge.
Oh, and it's
compressed. Yeah. Fuck. That audio is terrible.
No, like, there were so many PS1 games they put on the N64, and I'm like, why? Like, you lose so much sound quality and look and visual quality too, because it's like bit crust to shit.
Yeah, but so yeah, so this is my copy of Resident Evil 2. With a big sticker on the front, and I want to read this to you.
Okay.
Win a part in the movie or other great prizes.
Oh yeah.
Details inside.
Because they were trying to make that the Resident Evil movie since Resi 2 came out back in 98, 99?
Yeah, this was 98.
98.
Yeah, and like I said, they rebuilt this was the second version of this. The first version that they scrapped, you can actually play now, I think. I think it got leaked and like they rebuilt it or something. I have yet to play it, but it's like totally different. Leon's in it, but Claire isn't.
Okay. Because I want to say Leon was always like pretty much the main character of the second game.
Yeah.
As much as I like Claire.
Man, look at that artwork.
Which is kind of funny because we're getting a new Resident Evil movie, and judging by what we saw in the trailers, Claire is the main character of that with Chris.
Which also an ad in here for Breath of Fire 3.
That's certainly a game I remember. I didn't even know there was a Breath of Fire 1 or 2.
March 1998. But This also had some innovative stuff in it. Whereas, like, with the first game, you had 2 different characters that had a little bit different storyline with each one.
Yeah, and also different...
varying degrees of difficulty.
Yeah, like...
This is kind of the same with this. Basically, depending on which scenario you play first, like, say you play Claire's disc first, and then you play Leon's, there are parts where you'll go through areas, and depending on your actions in the first scenario, it'll be different in the second one. Like, the one I specifically remember is when you get to the underground lab for Umbrella, there is a room where you can get like a side pouch that gives you more slots in your inventory, or a grenade launcher. And if you take one, you can leave the other for the next scenario. Like, the way they want you to kind of do it is Claire gets the grenade launcher, Leon gets the pouch thing, and you know, that's how you're supposed to do it. I've had instances where I've taken both and just said, fuck it. Because getting into my funny story with this, I have never been able to beat this fucking game.
Yeah, to be fair.
No matter what fucking scenario I play. And it is hilarious because it's my own fucking fault every time. The first time I played it, I got halfway through Claire's campaign. Never got back to it, and when I finally did, I didn't remember what the fuck I was doing. Yeah. So I'm like, I'll restart. And so I had a buddy come over for my birthday, and I was like, hey, let's stay up all night and try to beat Resident Evil 2. You know, so we did. We were up until, I think, like 6 in the morning trying to fucking beat this game.
Yeah.
And we got all the way to the end, where you're fighting, I think, what's that guy's name? Dr. Berkeley or something, I think is the guy's name. Yeah, Berkeley, because Sherry, the little girl in this game, is his daughter.
Yeah.
I got to that last room and I had no fucking ammunition.
Yeah.
So I was fucked. All I had was the knife, and the knife is fucking worthless.
Yeah. The only thing it's really good for is if you down zombies and you don't want to use up more ammunition, you can...
Yeah, but so...
basically finish them off that way.
Tried to play Leon's thing. Same deal. I got like halfway through and I had to go do something else and I never got back to it. So it's like, I physically have been unable to beat this game.
Yeah.
And I have tried quite a few fucking times.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah. This game is also, which is kind of funny because both this and 3 are taking place at the same time, right?
The first part of Resident Evil 3 happens before.
Yeah, that's right.
And then the later half is, I think, after.
Yeah. You probably have to talk about 3's plot a little bit because I that one, even though it's really good, I don't remember.
So we'll just talk about these in section because they both happen at the same time.
But basically, Resident Evil 2, basically rats from the mansion in the first game carried the T virus into Raccoon City's drinking water, and this causes the entire city to basically get, I think, no man's land by Raccoon City, or by like Umbrella. No, I'm thinking of the movie.
Yeah, you're thinking of that. And I think you're thinking of Batman too.
Yeah, well, basically, shit gets real fucking dark real fucking fast because basically, like half the city becomes zombies.
Basically, they were working on a new virus, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the X virus, right?
Yeah, I think it's the X virus.
Because Mr. X is, like, a big thing in this game.
Yeah, I think it's the X virus. They were working on it to try to replicate what went down in Spencer Mansion.
Because Umbrella just can't fucking help themselves.
Yeah, well, the guy that was working on it got basically, he got betrayed by Umbrella. You know, they kind of had like a Mr. Freeze type of deal.
Yeah.
And what happened was they came to like take it. Like the Umbrella Corporation's like, no, we're fucking moving your research. We're taking your research. We're gonna give it to somebody else because clearly you haven't been able to keep this on schedule. So the guy basically got shot, and his first instinct was to inject himself with the virus. So it turns him into, you know, a tyrant. And because of that, there's also a part of the virus also gets infected with rats, and it therefore spreads throughout the rest of the city.
Yeah.
Basically turning the entire city into like just huge zombie outbreak. So that's happening, and before we get into 2, 3, the first part of 3 takes place. Basically, Jill is one of the last 2 people from STARS left.
Yeah, aside from Chris.
Yeah, well, that left in the city is what I mean. Because after 1, they tried to go public with what happened, and they basically got laughed at, and nobody believed them. Umbrella discredited them a lot, and it sent them on the run. This gets continued in the novels.
Yeah.
Which I want to say the novels aren't canon to anything anymore, which is
they might have been canon to these original games.
I don't think they were.
Oh, they weren't?
No, I don't think they were.
Okay.
Because that was back when, you wrote novels, but they take place in a different reality. They're not part of our game.
I mean, to be fair, like my point more was if they were important to anything, it'd be these ones. Because come the remakes, Japan was like, no, the only things that count are the remakes and Zero.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
which I have a lot to say about Zero.
Yeah. Which anyway, so Jill basically finally gets to a point where she's like, okay, I'm gonna get out. I gotta get out of this city, and she runs across this thing called Nemesis.
Yeah.
Basically, Nemesis's whole thing is he's hunting down the members of Stars.
Yeah.
Because Umbrella is basically like, hey, we're gonna wipe out any evidence we had something to do with this shit because, we need to cover our tracks here. So they send in Nemesis to wipe out any Stars member. Yeah. He kills Brad, the helicopter pilot from the first one. In a pretty gruesome scene, because I actually want to say that, his body shows up in 2.
Yeah.
And they explain how that happens in this. Because you go through a lot of the same locations in 3 that you would go through in 2.
Capcom, recycling stuff from past games since 1997.
Well, then I want to say it also explains why some shit's missing in 2. It's because, Jill went through.
Because Jill's like, out of my way, bitches.
Yeah.
But, it's kind of funny as an aside, how both these games have an unstoppable killing machine that hunts you throughout most of the fucking game.
And Nemesis is fucking downright terrifying in this game because
I honestly prefer Nemesis to Mr. X because Mr. X is literally just a big muscly guy in a trench coat.
Well, because in comparison to this, when those villains popped up, you could get away from them pretty easily. Mm. This motherfucker just comes out of nowhere, kicking doors down and shit, and it's like, oh fuck.
There's a reason
I want to say he can actually get in the save room too at one point, which up to that point you think the save room, because in every Resident Evil game the save room has been where you're safe.
Well, I don't.
In this game, no, you ain't fucking safe.
I want to say it's only 1 or 2 save rooms in the third game.
Because
it's not like every save.
Yeah, 1 or 2 he can bust in, and it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Which, as an aside, those movies are really shitty, but I will admit the second one's kind of okay because it's at least more of what I wanted. Then, to be fair, they at least kind of got Nemesis right in that game.
Kind of. They changed his backstory, which is fucking stupid.
No, they did. Yeah, well, that obviously, yeah, but at least he looks and acts like he's supposed to.
This also comes with a demo for Dino Crisis.
Yeah.
Which is the only way I've played Dino Crisis. Which is the art for the back.
But yeah, and so basically, the plots are actually very similar for 2 and 3, just because you're just trying to escape Raccoon City. And then 3 diverges because in the second half, it's Jill gets taken to an Umbrella lab, right?
No,
she gets taken somewhere, but I can't remember.
She didn't get taken anywhere.
Oh,
you're thinking of 5.
Oh, okay.
Which we're not gonna talk about 5.
Actually, I think
5 is ass.
I think I'm thinking of Code Veronica because
you're thinking of Code Veronica, and that's Claire.
Yeah, which my bad.
No, that's all good.
Like I said, I know
she gets knocked out because basically there's this. In Jill's game, you get to this point where you think you're going to get rescued, right? They have this fucking cutscene like you've been rescued, and then Nemesis shoots this shit down.
Yeah, because he has a rocket fucking launcher.
Yeah, and so it leads into this big fight where you fight Nemesis, and then I want to say after that you get wounded in that, and the guy that you're hanging out with in this one saves you, and then you play as him for a bit, and then you go back to playing as Jill.
Which he's annoying as fuck in the remake.
Yeah, he is.
Because he literally is he just wants to fuck Jill.
The clips I've found, he's fucking annoying. But the end of both of these is that Raccoon City gets fucking nuked. They just nuke the fucking place.
I mean, to be fair,
that's the only way to be sure. They go the Ripley route, which is nuke the shit from orbit.
Well, then, given the hellscape that Raccoon City is, with shit on fire, most of the infrastructure's gone.
You wouldn't be able to salvage that.
Yeah, but. And then to be fair, it's pretty typical of a zombie film. Like, if it's gone through the whole city, like, the plot is just the survivors need to get the fuck out because eventually the government's just gonna fucking blow that shit to hell. Also, isn't there like also like a cut ending for like 3 where Jill is like in Paris with Chris? Or am I?
No, that's the end, like, artwork. That's the end.
Yeah, the end artwork. That's, yeah. Which, again, we all know they banging. Like, I don't know why Capcom can't just fucking come out and say it, because they sure love fucking cock teasing Leon with Ada. But also, yeah, Ada is her first game's 2, right?
Yeah, she shows up in 2. That's her first appearance, and she dies supposedly.
Yeah, she died, but basically she helps Leon for most of his campaign. But then, of course, it's revealed that much like Wesker, she was working for Umbrella, which, big shock. Yeah. What, the mysterious sexy spy lady in red is the bad guy?
I'm shocked. Deeply shocked.
And to be fair, like, most of the games, the mechanics are all pretty much the same for the first 3 games. You know, you have a limited number of things you can hold. You have to use save items or save spaces in order to
typewriter ribbons.
Yeah, well, typewriter ribbons for
which I know people that are just deeply annoyed by that, and I'm like, I like it. It has a charm to it because you kind of have to pick when you can't just save every 10 minutes.
Yeah, I see the positives and the negatives of it, but like I think it works fine here. Like I think a lot of people, it's just, you know, like they're like, oh, it's outdated, like the tank controls, which I'm like, to be fair with the tank controls, there was no such thing as like analog free camera control back in the PlayStation era.
Well, and I will always say that I prefer Resident Evil games with a fixed camera. That new over-the-shoulder one, I can't fucking stand. And like, I know there are people that are the opposite, where they hate the fixed camera angles. With me, it's like the fixed camera angles where you can't really see anything at all, and you kind of have to, like, it's like watching a movie.
Yeah. Well,
I like it because it keeps up that survival horror atmosphere. You know, you can't see what's behind the corner. Like, you might be able to see a little bit of it. You know, it adds that suspense. You know, so you're going through rooms, you know, and you're trying to see, and it's like, it adds to the element of just, you know, the tank controls add to it, the camera adds to it. It all just makes this atmosphere that I don't really think there's another game that comes real close to it except maybe Silent Hill.
Yeah. And even then, Silent Hill, like...
Yeah, Silent Hill is up and down.
Well, Silent Hill does a lot of different things. Because, like, Silent Hill
mindfucks you.
Well, Silent Hill is psychological horror compared to, like, the action horror, Resident Evil. My only complaint with the fixed camera is that when you get into combat and a motherfucker just keeps knocking you between 2 different camera angles, and you're just like...
Oh, that shit's annoying. No, it's like, I can't fucking see!
That's the only thing I don't like about a fixed camera. Because, like, in a lesser game like Highlander for the Atari Jaguar, you'll be fighting somebody, and the other guy... Especially because, like, in those games you have knockback, and the knockback will literally knock you into another camera angle, and you're like, where the fuck am I now? Like, that's the only thing I don't like about fixed cameras. It's disorienting to suddenly change position or...
Like I said, I like them for the atmosphere.
No,
what I'm seeing is, like, you know, like I said, what I mentioned, and, you know, you have the audio, you know, so you kind of got to use everything at your disposal, you know, like, when you go into a room and you start hearing the fucking groaning and shit, you know, or, like, the sound of, like, the liquors and stuff. It's like, you know something's in there, you know, so you're kind of like, you know, you're pulling out the guns and you're kind of tiptoeing towards the edge of the screen, trying to get it to swap view so you can see.
No, and like I said, I don't think it's bad. The fixed camera works. Like I said, it's only for me in combat where the fixed camera kind of falters a little.
Well, and I at the very least, I will give it to you that aiming with fixed cameras is a little bit of a bitch.
Yeah, it's
why I always leave auto aim on when I play these games, because, like, I'm sorry, it's impossible to aim otherwise.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I also think that they do a really good job of giving your limited storage space. They do a really good job of making it so it's not completely unmanageable.
Yeah.
Like, I like the fact that you can, like, mix the herbs together so you don't have to have, like, 18 green herbs.
Mixing that weed.
Yeah. Like, you can, like, mix the herbs together. Not only that, you can mix and match to get, like, different effects with the herbs.
Yeah. Like, you can... Green and red it just adds to it. It's
yeah.
Like, I got a notebook somewhere where I have all those.
Yeah, there's a couple one. Like, I know there's one, like, if you put it a certain way, not only does it heal you, but it cures you of poison if you've been infected by what were the name of the snakes in that game?
Yeah, there were snakes in that game.
No, I meant, like, what were their names? Because, like, the really big fucker ones.
Snake.
Just snake? Okay.
Snake. Yeah.
Some of them had
giant snake.
Well, some of them had different names. Like the sharks were called Nemesis.
Yeah, no, these giant snake.
Just giant snake. Okay.
Giant snake.
I mean, fair.
Pain in my ass.
Well, like I said, like, cause some
all I wanted to do was go up to the attic, but no.
Well, because like I said, the sharks had a different name, so I couldn't remember. Because some of the giant animals have different weird names, and some of them are just mutated dog or bird.
Yeah.
Although nothing makes the first game fucking harder than when you go up against a fucking hunter.
Oh my god! Listen.
Oh, those things are
those bastards. Those fucking things were the reason I hoarded shotgun and magnum ammo.
And I think they just get more and more obnoxious in the next two games.
Oh, they do. Although the lickers are worse.
Oh my fucking god! Fuck the lickers.
Oh my god! The bastards on the fucking ceiling. Come down here where I can fucking shoot you, you stupid fuck.
It's also funny that both this and Silent Hill have liquor enemies. Well, Silent Hill 4
days we should do a live stream where we play Resident Evil, because I feel like the commentary between you and me would be pretty good.
Which I love that.
I love to turn the music off because I'm not getting hit with copyright strike.
I love when the hunter first shows up in the first game, where it shows him like going through the mansion, like from its POV, and it's like going through, climbing up ladders and going through.
So you're like, what the fuck is this?
And then you get the hunter, and like you got the fucking brain, and it's all like it's
with the fucking claws,
and it's so fucking fast, which is one of the reasons why it's so hard in those games, because with the tank controls you are slow as fuck.
Yeah, they kind of remedied it with the remake, because you get the quick turn, and with some of the stuff they added with remake, like with the crimson heads.
Yeah.
If you didn't have that quick turn, you would be fucked.
Yeah.
I mean, when that bastard gets up, you got seconds to fucking react. I mean, there were quite a few times in that game where, like, I was going to a door, you know, and I've got the shotgun out, because, like, in the remake, I just leave the guns out at that point, because I'm like, fuck this. The first time I played that, I was like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. These bastards had never been able to get back up before. I'm keeping the guns out at all times.
I
got to the door, and I hear that bastard running at me, and I'm like, you fuckers can run now? Like, I hit that fucking yellow quick turn, and like, he's running at me, and I'm like, I think I had like a second, I hit the up button for aim and fire instantly and blew the fucking head off. I'm like, you fucking bastards are gonna start staying down.
Yeah.
So they made it so you can light them on fire. That's the only way to be sure with those fuckers, is light them on fire.
Also, like, that while you have limited ammo, they give you a lot of really neat options. Like, I like how the rocket launcher has, like, all these different, like, rounds that can do, like kind of, like, deal with some of the more puzzlier enemies.
Yeah.
Isn't there, like, a plant monster in the first game?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you need, like, the flame rounds in order to kill it, or, like, the insecticide rounds.
Yeah. You know, they didn't just have it be generic rockets, you know.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of mythology to it. You know, you had to know what you were doing. You're like, you had to think, basically.
Yeah. The only, if I were to say anything, I love the first game a little bit more, just because I love the fact that the Spencer Mansion, the guy who created it, was a big James Bond fan, and so he made it so, like, there's all these trap doors and like weird puzzles and shit in it. Which is kind of why, as much as I love 2 and 3, and I think 2 and 3 are the much scarier games, is because, like, you're in, like, a zombie city.
Mm-hmm.
I love the first game's puzzles just because they're so weird and unique for the most part.
The shield one is one that always sticks out to me, or
the shotgun one with
the shotgun with the one on the wall, and you have to have the dummy one.
Yeah, because if not,
it, otherwise the ceiling will come down.
Which with Chris, you have to put the dummy. With Jill, at least.
Yeah, with Jill, at least Barry comes and helps.
Yeah, Barry comes and saves you out. It helps you out. But, you know, like,
oh, how about when you're underground in the boulder?
Yeah,
you have to know that if that one little spike back there, in the path has a hollow opening, you need to get into that opening or you will die.
Well, then to be fair, I feel like a lot of those like stuff like that, they were like, if you're playing this game right, you're clicking on fucking everything. So
yeah. Or you're investigating everything basically.
The only puzzle I really don't like in that game is the mixing the antidote or the potions.
That shit's annoying. That's one of those parts of this game where I'm like, I'm pulling the fucking guide out. I'm sorry, I don't have time to remember. It's like the warehouse puzzle in Knights of the Old Republic 2.
Yeah.
And if you've ever played that game, you know damn well what fucking puzzle I mean, because that shit is obnoxious. No one has that memorized. I had that shit written down on a piece of paper and shoved in the case because I was never remembering that shit.
And that's not like him and I are bad at mathing. It's just
it's an obnoxious puzzle.
Yeah, because you need like there's so many fucking steps and layers to it.
It's like both in Knights of the Old Republic 1, for instance, there's a Jacob's Ladder puzzle.
Yeah.
If you don't know what a fucking Jacob's Ladder puzzle is, like me, like when you first played it, you had no clue what that was. Mm-hmm. That puzzle was bullshit.
Yeah.
Like now, as an adult, and I know what a Jacob's Ladder is, you know, it's pretty easy, you know, but still, like, I have so many memories of trying to fucking do that puzzle and just be like, how the fuck do you do this?
But yeah, like, you get what I mean, though, right? Like, I like the puzzles more in 1 than 2 and 3.
They have a certain charm to them.
Well, then 2 and 3, they're not really puzzles so much as you're just trying to, like, get around the environment because it's all damaged from, like, the outbreak. Like, I mean, granted, there's some kind of cool puzzles in 2 and 3, but, like, I just like 1 because, like, given how weird the mansion is, it's just more fun. Like that scene where you go into the painting room with the birds and you have to do them in the right way or else like gas will come out and fucking kill you, and of course the fucking birds trying to fucking murder you while you're trying to figure out what this fucking puzzle is,
or the room with the knight's armor and stuff. Dude, the first time I ever went in that room and I was doing that puzzle, I thought for sure those fucking statues were gonna come alive and attack my ass. Like that's another example of just this game's atmosphere does that. You know, you're instantly suspicious of everything.
Yeah, and you keep wondering if that ghost from the one Scooby-Doo episode was going to come out. Leave this mansion immediately. But now we're going to
headless specter.
It's just Wesker in a bedsheet, guys. Yeah, like I said, I will admit most of my love is for the first one. I mean, I like the other two, but like
I like the trilogy, but if I really had to pick, like, it's going to be Resident Evil 1, and that's the one I've spent the most time with. I know we didn't really talk about 2 and 3 a whole lot, but
to be fair, they're like 2 and 3 are good, but like the
I consider them. You gotta have. It's the same plot basically.
Yeah. And to be fair,
you have to play one with the other.
Then like there's so many like games that are like 2 and 3 where it's just you're in a city that's all damaged and you gotta escape. Like, and like I said, there's nothing wrong with those games. It's just Resident Evil 1 has this unique atmosphere to it where you're stuck in this mansion and everything is trying to kill you. And you're just trying to survive and figure out what the hell is going on. You know, and one thing I will give Resident Evil 1, there's no really other game like it. Like, yeah, I know, like Alone in the Dark and Clock Tower, Sweet Home, but like there's just something about the charm of the first Resi game that just works. You know, and like I said, I like 2 and 3. It's just I have the most love with 1, especially because like I go back and watch Let's Plays of Resi 1 a lot. But like yeah, like with 2 and 3,
when they remastered those for the PS3, I think I immediately was like, went out and got a gift card. You know, I bought that shit. And then when I bought PS4 and my Xbox, I have both 0 and 1 remakes. I have them for both systems. No, we're not talking about 0. Mainly because that game induces plot holes that annoy me.
Say nothing of the fact that it's kind of, in my opinion, the beginning of the really weird, kooky villains that you get in the later games.
Yeah. With
that motherfucker who summons fucking slugs or whatever the fuck those were. Especially because he looks like those assholes from 4. He really does.
No, he does.
I'm like, but yeah. As a side, do you care if I talk about some of the weirder ports of the first couple games before we
Yeah, sure. I mean, you have the Sega Saturn version, which has an exclusive enemy in it, the Golden Hunter.
Yeah.
You have
the DS port
Deadly Silence, which is I've never seen in person because that's rare and expensive anymore. Because it's a straight up port of 1.
Although it is kind of cool to see it, just because
Umbrella Chronicles, which is the first game, but it's a rail shooter.
Oh my god, is that the one the AVGN talked about, or is that
That's true. That's Survivor. That's a different game. There's a couple rail shooters that Resident Evil's done.
Which I'm like, why would you do that? Because now everyone's gonna be like, you're just ripping off House of the Dead.
They don't give a shit.
I mean, obviously they don't.
They're like, you fuckers bought it anyway.
Yeah, well, obviously, yeah. To be fair, I probably played them over House of the Dead, even though I like playing House of the Dead.
I've beaten the first one, Umbrella Chronicles. That one's actually kind of fun. It's just Darkside is the one where I think it's bullshit. Because that game's hard.
There was Resident Evil 2 for the Gamecom, which, for those of you who don't know what the Gamecom is...
Resident Evil Gaiden.
No. Resident Evil Gaiden?
Oh, you don't know about Resident Evil Gaiden?
No,
Resident Evil Gaiden is a new Resident Evil game for the Game Boy Color.
Oh, is that the one with Barry you told me about?
Yeah, that one. It's not canon.
Yeah.
It's ass. Like, that game is hard to play.
Yeah.
I've watched Let's Plays of that because it's like, how is she gonna play that unless you ROM that shit? Because that's another one that's expensive because it's a handheld.
But Resident Evil 2 for the Gamecom. So, back in the day, Tiger Electronics made a game system, which I think you've seen this if you've seen the Tiger Electronics.
Yeah, I've seen it.
But the Gamecom was their answer to the Game Boy. Now, when they made this answer, it was like 96 or 97.
The Game Boy had already won at that point.
No, that the Game Boy Color was out. This was in black and white. But basically, it was like it was a very, very bad game because originally it really wasn't made for gaming. It was actually more or less a glorified pager / like PDA because you could hook it up to the internet so you could read emails. Except that it was a wired thing, so you had to like sit by wherever your phone line fucking was. But basically, they had some games on. They had a Duke Nukem game. They had Duke Nukem 3D on there.
I know. I'm familiar with the game.
But the Resi 2 port for that literally opens on that scene where Leon first comes across his first zombie. And I've never seen anyone get past it because the controls and movement in that is so bad. Like, you can't get past that first fucking zombie. Like, like literally... It'll hit you, and like you have to try and turn around. And if you think tank controls are bad in the first 3, imagine if you were 800 years old and you could only move in increments of like 2 inches a second. It's like that. It's real bad. But the Gamecom is so fucking bad. Like, I'll say it only had, like, maybe 20 games to it, but, like, it and the Duke Nukem Gamecom, like...
They ported 2 and 3 to GameCube when Remake happened.
Yeah. But to be fair, though...
Those are just straight-up ports.
Those are just straight-up ports, and they're playable. So...
Yeah, they're playable. I don't really think they added anything different in.
No, I don't think they did. At least they didn't do what Metal Gear Solid did, was like, hey, let's take the first game and give it the mechanics of 2 so we can just break this fucking game. Which I'm like, why would you do that? Like, I get doing quality of life updates, but when the next game in your series has all these, like, things that the first game don't have, that means you fucking break it. But yeah, there are so many weird ports for Resident Evil. I want to say they also had a Tiger Electronic handheld game, you know, with the little like beeps and boops, you know, like which fucking the 90s were wild in terms of like gaming shit like that. But yeah, there are just so many ports of Resi 1, 2, and 3 for like shit that they shouldn't have been on.
It just shows the popularity of all 3. You know, because like it was arguably probably one of the flagship titles of the PlayStation. You know, was this Tomb Raider, Crash? You know, you had the big. It was one of the big name for that why you wanted to go buy a PlayStation.
Yeah, if you were a PlayStation guy, you either had Crash, Metal Gear, Final Fantasy VII, or Resi. Like, you had, like, those 4. But, yeah, like, and to be fair, like, I think that's why, you know, Resident Evil has had so much staying power throughout, like, 3, 4 different console generations, you know? Like, they were very unique for their time. They weren't just, like, you know, like you're trying to escape from something. You know, they had puzzles. They made you think. They made you feel like you were playing a horror movie and trying
Are
to
you
get
stuck?
out.
Call Capcom. I'm like, tell Capcom, hey, your game's fucking shit. Fucking tell me how to get past this fucking puzzle, you fucking bitch.
Oh, you think that's hard? Why don't you play as the one Umbrella Chronicles
Fucking
guy?
Tofu.
Yeah.
Play as Tofu.
Or the fucking Resident Evil, like the Umbrella guy, like I think his name's like Chunk or something.
I can't even fucking remember. I've never played that.
Yeah. Because I want to say he was in one of them, and then like I think one of the ports made him like an actual like story mode.
Hunk. You're like a hunk.
Yeah, Hunk. Where he has like, because I want to say he was in one of the games, but then they're like, we're gonna make him like an entire story mode. And
he was in 2.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh yeah. And then, but when they did the remake, he actually gets like they flesh out his story and shit. I'm like, why? He's just a joke character.
I didn't get Tofu, so I'm pissed.
No, that Tofu was. I thought
he probably is.
I think they did do Tofu, but
yeah. Go ahead.
If your best bet to play these, if you don't want to get these, even though I'm pretty sure you can get like the originals for like the PlayStation the PlayStation Store.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can. And if not, I know the first one is on Steam. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. You can get these. They reported just recently for the PS4. Or like they remade them.
Yeah, and the remakes of 0 and 1 got ported to Xbox and PlayStation 4.
Yeah, just play just play 0, 1, and 2. 3's kind of bad.
3's not bad. Oh, you mean the remake of 3?
Yeah, the remake of 3.
It's like specify remake 3.
Yeah, sorry. I was talking about the remakes, but yeah, 3 aka Nemesis just stands out in front of windows and does nothing. It's just like, hi.
Hi, how are you?
You gonna come outside? So I can kill you with my fucking rocket launcher? No? Okay, I'll be out here when you need me, though. I'll be right here. At this exact spot. Like, oh. Which is shit's a shame, because, like, the first 2 remakes are so fucking good. And then they, like, completely botched the third. Because, like, Mr. X is really...
It's Capcom. What did you expect?
No. I mean, to be fair, though, they've kind of been, like, fixing themselves as of late. But, yeah. Otherwise, you know, like I said, there's plenty of ways you can play these games because there's just so many ports and remakes of them. But, yeah. You have any final thoughts?
Buy them, motherfucker. Play them.
That chick better not bounce or you're a dead motherfucker. But,
that fucking Magnum better not drop or you're a dead motherfucker.
Especially because it's so great against living things. But anyway, guys, I think that's going to wrap this episode. We got one more, well, at least maybe 1 or 2 more Halloween episodes.
However many bullshit episodes we can make.
And then we'll be in November, which we'll talk about a little bit more, probably in the next episode, because I think that'll probably be the last one we're doing.
We'll get to it when we get to it.
We'll get there when we get to it. But anyways, guys, that's going to wrap it up for our reviews of Resident Evil.
Remember the hyphen. Resident hyphen.
Just for that, I'm going to go tell Nemesis to eat you. And you won't have Chris punching boulders to save you this time. But anyway, fellow members of the Umbrella Corporation, I'm Adam Wesker. And this is Colton Valentine.
And as always,
we ask you.
Remember the hyphen?
And take care.
Remember to eat your Jill sandwiches.
Udo Budos!